Hi,
Prabath.
Joan, Germany.
So good to see you once again after more than 10 years. Back in Sri Lanka, we met. I'm here in Sweden now, and you're connecting with me from Sri Lanka. So we connected because of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. I remember you coming to our NLP classes and being one of our great students, and you have proven it after 10, 12 years also. Recently, I saw you on LinkedIn, and I felt delighted to witness that you have written your book on parenting, and that you have like launched it. So I was delighted to witness that as your coach and a friend in progress once.
Of course, I mean,
And
from my end, I'm delighted to connect back with you because you are one of the earliest mentors, coaches whom I had who showed me a different path. Because being a medical doctor, I was totally into this scientific kind of things. I would believe only in things which I could touch and feel and experiment. But then going beyond that, you showed me that there's something beyond that which you can experience. So it was the real eye opener for me. Yes.
oh, wow. Thank you. I needed to hear it. You see, that's the thing,
Yes.
right? We may think we are coaches, trainers, all that big stuff, but we also have very vulnerable, weak ego, right? Sometimes we need validation
Of course, of course.
and someone to say, thank you, you did a good job, and I'm happy. I think we as humans have to start talking more of good things about each other, because there's enough bad being spoken and criticism. So it's a very good start. And it's coming from our hearts. So that's the most beautiful thing. It came from your heart. And once again, I have to salute you for being a great man because you're married for so many years. So I don't know how many years you're married. How many years you're married, Prabath?
Um, our 25th anniversary is coming up in December.
And you have a 24-year-old daughter, son,
Son.
right? And basically three children. So yeah, so you have proven it. So this is why this conversation that we are having today, sponsored by Mind Designs International. Soon you will receive something nice from us. Hopefully, Vagamaka will arrange it for you. Um, and why we are so happy is that we are talking to a person with high credibility, not because of qualifications or these credentials, but because you have proven to be a great father and a husband, and you are living a good life. So, yeah, so we salute you, we honor you, and we wish you all the courage, strength, vitality, and be able to live a long, happy, healthy life, Prabhat. At the very beginning of our interview, I want to
Thank you
wish
very
you
much,
all that.
Dharmini. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Mm,
Thank you.
of course. And then once again, me being a woman, I have to also give due merit to the women in your life, starting from your mother, who created a wonderful child like you, and then certainly father, more specifically your wife. I remember meeting your wife. I think she's also into yoga
Yes,
and
yes,
things like that, right?
yes.
Yeah, so yes, so it was a beautiful masculine and divine feminine play even at that time, and which I definitely admired and respected. It is I have no words to explain how grateful I feel right now. So give me some time to get to the main discussion. Right. So as we had a discussion earlier about this topic, now I like to sort of do a little briefing on the same before we go to the interview or the discussion with you. A mental health problem among youth is a global pandemic. And when I say youth, not necessarily people above 18 and there onwards till 30 or so. No, this problem is a predominantly expanding problem, even among teenagers, young adults, and even children. Now, as I mentioned to you, I'm in Sweden, and this seems to be like a real social problem. This young children, even starting from age 8, 9, onwards, being, addicted to drugs, having dysfunctional antisocial behaviors, and then they are being sent to rehabilitation centers. Here, of course, they call it like care homes, residential care homes, etc. So the social services unit make arrangements to put this kind of children into some kind of a therapeutic environment. So they go through therapy, they go through treatment. The word therapy is a buzzword here in Sweden. It's a big, big, big business because it's a big, big, big social problem. And for the little time I have been here, around 7 months, I was able to see through this veil of what is being portrayed and what's behind, and be able to come into some reasonable understanding as to why this is happening. So my understanding about this global issue, mental health problem, and criminal behavior, dysfunctional behaviors of youth, antisocial behaviors, and then we not being able to have this fully functional, capable, healthy uh, uh, people in our workforce who are creating meaningful things, adding value to the society. So it's a social problem, and it is, I think, is partly a problem in our country, Sri Lanka, as well. I'm not able to talk much about the exact situation as how intense and severe that problem in our country, but all I know is that it's a global problem. So I was wondering that based on my value system, I care for the future generations. I care for women empowerment. I care for nature. Those are the three things that I deeply, deeply care. So I decided to have this conversation, this dialogue with people who are living that purposeful, passionate life, and also who are matching my value system, and with the intention of making people aware about this issue, and hopefully through our conversation to share some tips, techniques, ideas, philosophies that can help, let's say, mothers, friends, even the people who are affected by this issue, and policymakers, to be able to help solve this problem in any level, maybe just at micro level, like that is starting from the family system, or from a community level, and finally at a national level. So this is like a little background story to the work we are doing, and I wanted to tell why I do what I do. And so I like to, Prabhat, now with that, enter into the subject of what you're good at. That is parenting. Recently, you launched your first book, and I see that you're going to launch the next one as well, about parenting. And you are a parent with three children. So my first question to you is that so in your opinion, uh, what is the problem? What is the situation of this problem in Sri Lanka? And what factors do you think has caused this problem to get aggravated over the years, if you perceive it as a problem in our country?
Yes, definitely. I think this is an escalating issue in Sri Lanka as well. But what I feel is we still might be seeing only the tip of the iceberg, because since this is something new, our system, including parents, are not really being sensitive to the gravity of the issue yet. Because if you turn on news, there are so many things about youth getting into violence and all these issues. And recently there was a very disturbing news that on the last day of the exam, the school children going and vandalizing the school, the fans and the furniture, they were just destroying that. Right? So, I mean, those might be the symptoms of much worse things to come. And on the other aspect, if you get into social media, we see, I don't know what the English word could be, this Singiti Patale in Sinhala, like 12, 13-year-olds
child criminality.
acting like
Child criminality.
exactly, right? So like this young children, like there were posts like, say, a 12-year-old, he has a crush on a girl, and another boy has talked to that girl, and he's threatening him for talking to. I mean, this type of things are now coming to surface because of the social media, and I think the problem is set already, but we as adults and parents and maybe teachers have not understood what the real situation is. So we have to be prepared for much worse to come in the near future. And as you ask, okay, the reasons, I see the causes arising from all aspects, like parents, teachers, and even the authorities. If you look at the parents, one of the biggest issues I see is, compared to my childhood, we have less and less time to spend with our children.
That's right.
And one of the main issues is the financial thing. No? So when I was young, my mother was a teacher and my father was a technical officer at a government corporation. Both of them are employed. But we had enough time to spend together, to share, and we had a very close relationship with our grandparents.
Yes.
So that time that the previous generations can devote to children has dropped drastically. We can't blame the parents as well because of the economic situation. You have to survive, you have to support the family. So therefore, like, hardly you find nowadays in urban areas a family where both parents are not working. So both parents are working, so less time. And given the recent financial crisis and issues, people who are employed might be working longer hours and on weekends, holidays, to make some extra money. And some of the parents might be looking at second avenue of income, third avenue. So that takes time. And things like even transportation, because of the fuel prices, I know so many people who used to travel to work by their own vehicle now take public transport. So all of these take away valuable time the parent could have spent with the children. So that is one of the main issues which I see, because in so many families, the kids are growing up with grandchildren, not with their parents. So that again, I see, because sometimes the grandparents, out of their love, they spoil the grandchildren, right? They give whatever they want. And I mean, unlike parents, they are so giving. So maybe in another 10, 15 years, we will see a whole generation of youth who have been brought up by nannies and grandparents, because we as parents are not there to give that input only a parent can give.
Exactly.
So this is an issue that is going to really escalate if we don't really make some drastic changes. And the other one is, from parents' perspective, what I see is the expectations. Because in this region of the world, we pay undue emphasis on education. Education is a must. There's no question about it. But then compromising that with like something else. Now, for example, when I was at school, my mother, being a teacher, was the one who really pushed me towards studies, and my father was a bit different. He took me to watch cricket matches and whatever the rest of it. So I was fortunate to have a balance. But then again, I mean, at school, I have achieved the best a student could achieve. I was the best results at O levels, best results at A levels. But then looking back, I realized, if I was encouraged to maybe take a step back from studies and maybe focus more on other things, I would have been much better right now.
I fully endorse that. I'm sorry, I had to interrupt you, because I fully endorse that. I had the same sentiments. Yeah.
Exactly. So now, I mean, as I said, I was the school's top in biology, but then 7 students got through to medicine. So even if I was the 7th, I could have gone into med school. But from being 7th to 1st, I had to sacrifice a lot of my time to studies. And I was good at sports. I was good at aesthetics, playing instruments, but I had to give up all of those to focus on this. But learning from my experience, what I have done is, with my kids, is totally different. And I will talk about those things if we have time in the later on in the discussion. So that undue pressure on studies, academics, is a huge problem, contributing immensely to this problem. Because from grade 1 onwards, we see kids being taken to extra classes. I mean, for what? I mean, I can't really understand, like 6-year-old, 7-year-old, just after school with a huge bag being taken to an additional class. Right? So, okay, we say for scholarship exam to get a better school, fine. Then even O levels is to get selected to do A levels. It's not a life-changing event, right? Okay, A levels somewhat to get into a state university again, but now with the so many options of
Yes.
private universities, all the emphasis on this, undue emphasis on academics, where what I believe is we train our children to succeed at exams, not to succeed in life.
Life.
That's the biggest problem I see in terms of parents. Of course, teachers might not be willing to really discipline children like the old days, because they are also worried. Sometimes if you do something, you are taken to courts. So then teachers are also worried to discipline children anymore. The authorities have other things to worry about. So culmination of all these things, I think in Sri Lanka, this is something beneath the ashes, which might explode very, very soon. That's my idea about the Sri Lanka situation.
Sure. That's a very good answer, Prabath. And then building onto that, I want to first say that I endorse all your ideas. I was also a victim of such a mindset of like education matters, and then I go to the world. Still, I'm learning how to live life, which is, I think, is a ever like continuous process, because deep inside we all are children, and we are children of children, and we are children of children of children. So really in this world we don't necessarily have parents, because parenting is a skill we gain on the journey of life after giving birth to our children, and or adopting children. We learn that as a skill. But parents are not born psychologists. Parents are not born economists. Parents are not born strategists or financial planners. They are also children, right? They do what they have learned from their childhood and from the environment. And as you said, like um, children are trying to uh, understand life while parents are stuck in life. So this is the dilemma. So if parents are feeling stuck, how possibly can they give life? Although they gave life, yes, they gave life, they gave food, or they give food and a place to live, all that's true. But how to live life, I think even parents are still figuring out, most parents. And as you very correctly said, the whole worldwide economic, social, political, technological, these changes that we are rapidly going through is affecting us at all levels. And it's about finding our sanity again and again, every day, every moment, as a parent, as an adult, as a teacher, as a caregiver. And then hopefully that sanity, that balance, that clarity of consciousness, hopefully projected through our behaviors, actions, and words and behaviors in a way that gives this comfort, security, assurance, constant assurance of security, validation to our children in a way that they feel safe in this world, emotionally, physically, financially, and even spiritually. Like, am I safe as a being? I think our children, perhaps even in our country, our so-called, irrespective of the economic issues, our quality of life is also improving. As a third world country, our quality of life is also improving in a way, no matter what. We have better facilities, right? Better technologies. Having said that, do we feel safe as an individual? Do we really feel being taken care of? Like, oh, are we constantly living with this fear and anxiety and worry that something wrong will happen? And children are totally, they are developing their neurology at early ages, so they are totally vulnerable. And if parents are feeling extremely vulnerable, if they don't know how to bring that sanity, bring that balance, if they can't find their life in their own way and to be enlightened in a way, stay in that sane state. It's nearly impossible for a caregiver to give life. They can give food, they can give money, they can give place to stay, they can sort of educate stuff, A, B, C, D, X and Y, Z, all that, mathematical formulas. But to give life, one has to do something else. I think that is my discourse. That is something that I'm good at, which I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. And I'm hoping to open up that conversation even more through this dialogue. And
And I would like
let's
to
move on to
add
the
one more
next.
point, Jamie, that is now say,
Yes,
now as you said, yeah. So as parents is all what we learn by doing trial and error, and maybe what we have learned, what we experience from our parents. So it goes in a cycle. So
that's right.
I'll say something which comes from a generation, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, which had a totally different economic and social atmosphere. It's not going to work now. So since that's all what we know about parenting, so it will take a very, very strong personality or a strong mind for a parent to break away from that cycle and think differently. And
100%. 100% I
given,
agree with you.
given all the issues, I think very few parents will have at least the time and effort to break away from that cycle and bring something new to the table, isn't it?
Absolutely. And let's talk about it even briefly here. Why do parents don't have that ability to break this generational karma, let's say around money, about relationship, about education, about sex, or anything? Is because they don't have, as you said, time to reflect, to have this internal reflection. We are coming from this, we are mostly a Buddhist country. We know, people know this. So, and especially in the Theravada Buddhism, we talk about Vidarshana or Vipassana. Is the subject that we discuss in psychology, that is this ability to reflect, the cognitive. You are being able to uh, step out from your story, the narrative, and you see yourself as a third party, and being able to, in not in a critical manner but in a more constructive manner, assess what's going on. So yes, parents are so busy trying to make life, not living life, and they don't have these moments of silence to watch what's happening. Like on a
Exactly.
TV, they watch social media, they are constantly on some sort of media, feeding themselves with something, but never having that space between my life story and me. Like, who the hell or heaven am I? What exactly am I doing? Why am I constantly having this pain and suffering? So that requires time and space. But even to have time and space, one need to have that, like,
Mm.
awakening moment, and like a shock. And it's like usually people get this shock treatment after a devastation, like a trauma, tragedy. People usually get to this state like, oh, now what was it that I was living? Now time to reflect. It's too late
And
usually. This is the
that's
thing,
the
something
thing that
happened to a
you
child.
just mentioned. I've had enough experience. Like maybe I burst and I shout at my kids, and then I wonder, oh my God, this is exactly how I was treated when I was a child. I mean, then I mean, maybe because of not having time or energy, that thought
Yes.
comes to my mind. But then, as you said, to reflect on it and change it, that part
Yes.
never happens because you move to the next appointment or next
Oh
assignment.
my
So
God.
much taking life. So sometimes you get that light bulb
Yeah.
moment. My goodness, is fast. But then to reflect on that, for some reason, most of
Yeah.
us don't have the time and energy and the actual need for it.
And maybe I will give a tip. Maybe I will give a tip. So we understand, like I'm studying mostly organizational behavior, let's say specifically, and how organizations organize its ways of in order to achieve what they want to achieve. So family unit is not an organization, but still it's one way or the other an organization. So I consider routines are very important part of our life routines. So if we want to make a change in any family unit or in an organization, in a community, in a country, I think first step is to change the current routines, because whatever we are doing is habitually coming through. And if the routines are creating us certain type of a being in a given day, in a given time, let's say after a very tired day, I become this aggressive, hypersensitive, or hyperactive, or completely avoidant type of a person, whatever, right? I know I'm dysfunctional. Like say I come home, everyone's waiting to get a bit of my love, and I don't have capacity to love. So I cannot burst out or I can shut down. So if I notice that this is happening and I understand it is important, my family is so important, my love is important, my me being able to give that love and recognition is so important, but I'm not able to do that, and this dysfunctional behavior is really taxing me. If I have that awareness, I think first step is to go and look at the routine. What is the routine? Start of the day and everything on the way to this moment, then consciously making some adjustment to the daily routines. This is how even organizations do changes. They change the routines. Moment we change the routines, like for an example, just 10 minutes of deep breathing first thing in the morning. And another routine introduced just 5 minutes breathing after lunch. And wherever the workplace I am in, I can, like especially someone like you, any parent, irrespective of the fact that they are being driven in a vehicle or it, driving a vehicle in an organization or sitting in a business setting, I think we can take 5 minutes to do deep breathing. Now imagine just a little change like that. Like I'm talking from my own experience. When I came to Sweden, complete worldview changes. I mean, wired exact opposite. Vehicles driven on the other side, people are completely different, dark, gloomy, cold. The first thing I did was changing my routine. If I just developed a routine that literally created a force field around me, protecting me from many things. And this is why I was able to quite thrive actually during the dark, heavy winters and without much emotional support, being by myself. So that is an idea that I like to give you,
Thank
Prabhat.
you.
Change the routines to include mostly in indirectly what I was saying is try to incorporate meditation as a regular practice. That's what I tried to say actually with all those
I got it.
fancy
Yes.
words.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next question if you're ready.
Yes.
What is the role of parenting in solving? I think you partly addressed this in our discussion. We partly addressed this, but more specifically, like what is the role of parenting in solving this problem, and what are your suggestions at even national or like community level or from family level to create create positive sustainable results? What are your thoughts?
Well, yes. So, over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months, I've been reading a lot about parenting to refresh myself and to reflect back on my parenting style, which I would say has succeeded because I'm really proud the way my kids have grown up to be. So, in this regard, I would think of maybe 3, 4 very important things. Is the first thing is keep talking to them because when they grow up, what happens is you want to talk to them and they won't listen. And you want to listen to them, they won't talk. So there's this huge barrier. The reason is most parents, even in my network, my classmates, batchmates, when I speak to them, what they say is, now my kids are about 13, 14. Now they're not talking to us. So my question is, what were you doing when they were 10, 11, 9? So when they were growing up, maybe like when they are 4, 5, 6, you are very close. You play with them, everything. But then in the middle, for some reason, you might disconnect. But then when you realize, the moment you realize that the dialogue has broken is when they become adolescents. So then to to certain families, it might be too late because the kids have built up the fortress around themselves, so they are not open to their parents. So my first suggestion would be to keep on talking to them through all those years.
Wow.
Don't wait till it comes to a stage where it has broken.
Wow.
So it's always easy to keep it running rather than repairing something that is broken. So therefore, my first point which came to my mind is
That came from your engineering background, I think.
yes, right. So I mean, coming from my thing as my own experience is that being there for them to talk to, and then sometimes nowadays now my second and third, they are always on devices. So sometimes I send WhatsApp messages, short messages. So I mean, if that is the method that they prefer, so the main thing is to keep the conversation going, right? So what most parents might think is, okay, now they're not listening to me, they're in their room, but then have you tried sending them a message? But when I send a WhatsApp message, they reply, because that's their mode of communication now. They might not talk to you, but then the first thing is keep talking to them. That is a must. And number one. The second one which I thought of was having this one-on-one time, creating one-on-one time. Yes, having the dinner together as a family is very important. Going out and spending time creating memories, fine. But there's a totally different atmosphere created when you have this one-on-ones. It can be with your spouse, it can be with your kids, at least once a month. If it doesn't occur naturally, create it. Make it happen. I can remember like a few months ago, my second one, who's now 18 plus, he will turn 19 soon. Both of us are into cricket. So, I mean, I was busy and he was preparing for exams. So we didn't have much time. So there's Lanka Premier League cricket tournament, the final. So he said, Tati, shall we go? Then I knew that this was a golden opportunity which I should not miss. And actually I had a pre-planned session, training session, lecture on that day, but I canceled it. And I was able to spend about, including the commute, about 5 hours, even more than that. And that was something that both of us can't express in words. So the second point which I'm trying to highlight here is try to create if it doesn't happen. Now, for example, if you are taking your kid to classes and other places by yourself, then you have at least some time. So use that time to talk about things that girl or boy might not want to discuss when others are around.
Yes.
In a family setting, they might be reluctant to talk about certain things. But then on a one-to-one, you are very open. You have no restrictions. So that might be one of the key things that you can create to overcome this issue. And the third one is, which I'm trying to do my best, is to build up learning moments. Whenever something happens, this you can start doing from a very young age. Whenever something happens, say when you see a beggar, so that can be a learning moment to highlight something. When you see something on the news, or say, for example, when your kid loses a match. So those are learning moments which we as parents miss. Because again, we are so much driven by the responsibilities of running the family. We forget to convert those experiences into real life learning experiences, learning moments. So if we as parents use all these small events to teach something, then we don't have to spend additional time to discipline them more, groom them more, guide them more, because all the learning is there already happening on the sideways. But we don't take time because we are so focused on the road. We don't realize what is happening around us. So we miss those moments. So I think those are the three things which came to my mind immediately when you asked, okay, what we can do as parents. So first thing would be to keep talking to them from a young age. Don't wait till the conversation breaks down to restart it. Keep talking. Second one is to have the one-on-one times, moments, and then to create the learning moments where you can really inculcate the values you want to inculcate, the principles. All those things can be beautifully transferred to your kids if you use those learning moments properly. So
Beautiful.
as a parent, that's what I would like. And there's second, you asked about the bigger picture.
Yeah, if you can, I mean, if you perceive that something can be done
Actually,
at community or national or
I had some experience in with rehabilitation centers, not children, but adults, these ex-militants being rehabilitated back in the conflict time. So we as an organization, we sponsored some of these sessions, and we went to this place near Trincomalee in Kandakadu, and we spent days there addressing their issues and trying to bring them back into the society as productive citizens. So one thing that we observed was, now these are ex-militants, hardcore militants carrying weapons. But then when you speak to them, you realize that underneath that exterior, most of them, they were like very sensitive and soft human beings. But even in those rehabilitation centers, what happens? Okay, they were being taught a vocation, either carpentry or masonry, so that our sponsorship was to give them the toolkit so that they can go back to the community and start earning money. So, but then even though they were taught those vocations, there was hardly anyone to talk. Because since we went as third party, we didn't have much work. So we sat with them and spoke with them for hours. And when we did that, we realized that yes, the government is doing a fantastic job trying to rehabilitate them, but then aren't we missing a vital component? We are giving the skills, but the mind and their heart, are we touching? And there are about 200 inmates and so many security personnel to look after, but then only about a handful of professionals to help them. So I think that would be one. Even if we talk about the youth rehabilitation, one thing would be to have qualified and competent personnel to really help, because just like say maybe teaching or medical professions, this is not a job, because this is something that you have to do with your heart. So because the entire future of the country is maybe inside those homes or facilities. So that is one thing that I really would want to see happen in our institution. And there are a few other things, like for example, definitely you have to teach them a vocation, because some of these kids might be having sort of a inferiority complex, because they might be thinking about themselves as the useless or the waste kind of mentality because of how we treat them. So we have to uplift their morale by giving them some valuable skills which they can use, even maybe coding, programming, which might be kids at that age would pick it up very soon. And another thing is to keep getting the family involvement, even if they are out of the family, to keep that thing going, and maybe plan out how you are going to reintroduce them into the society, because we see so many relapses, isn't it? So you rehabilitate for years and put it back, within 2 months they are back in the center.
Exactly.
So that means we have to plan for that aspect. And then how can they be followed up? So from a state point of view, or from the authority kind of perspective, there are so many examples that we can take. I mean, from if you read the literature, there might be enough things that you can suggest. So from the institution point of view, my main thing is to have adequate personnel to address that their psychological plight.
Yes,
So
thank
that's
you, Prabath. Spot on once again. So we didn't connect accidentally. It was so meant, it was purposeful, because what you are telling me is exactly validating what I have studied on this subject so far. So at institutional level, that is what exactly that need to happen. We are on the same page. So brilliant. And
thank
I
you.
hope this message will reach so many people, and people who are, as you very correctly said, genuinely passionate about a common good, betterment of the world, like passionate, like they're driven by their heart rather than like from their head calculative mind. I think as humanity, we evolved, especially after pandemic, our consciousness evolved to this head heart coherence consciousness. I noticed that we have changed, even our ways of being have changed, isn't it? Our way of doing work has changed, and the current generations, the new generations, are born into this consciousness. So I think the responsibility of the previous generation, who always only worked with this calculative, logical, analytical, rational perspective, is to really let go of that old paradigm and change, relax a bit, and be flexible in ways of managing, administrating things, planning things, how you take decisions, because our old paradigm, especially the older generation, still carrying it. But the conscious humanity has already evolved to this, let's say 4D consciousness, we call it. Like we are mostly operating from the heart now. And perhaps the new generation is born into that. But what happens is they're living in the world that was created by the previous generation.
Yes.
So there's a huge disparity between the children calling and crying for help from the adults, the previous generation, asking for these institutional changes through their behaviors, and that behavior is unfortunately is problematic, like drug addiction or criminal or antisocial behavior. But that is a call for help, purely a call for help, asking, create a new world for us. Like, we want a new world. Your old ways are not right for us. Break it down, come to our level. It's a new. And I feel like this is how I perceive it. I see this problem as like a blessing in disguise for the old models, economic models, business models. It has to break into pieces actually, and like recreate something completely different. We are creating a new world, so our babies, our children are helping us create this new world. And just like a mother feels like she gets milk in her breast, and the father feel like letting go of his anger when the baby cries. So just like in the normal scenario, if children and youth have this problem consistently, what they're saying is, please, we are living in a world that we don't want to be in. This is not, we don't feel right in this world. Help us, help us, help us. So, so
And
obviously, they
one more
are
point that I
they
would
are the
like
most
to
powerful stakeholders.
one more point I'd like to add is we have to stop labeling these kids. Like we might label them as antisocial or delinquent or whatever, but sometimes it might
Exactly.
be depression, which the child has absolutely no control over. It's
Exactly.
all chemical. So I mean, the child will have no control over it. So the first and foremost, you might have to change the how you call them, how they are
Yeah,
addressed, starting from that,
exactly.
because they can't help it. I mean, so and
And
with
and
the,
and exactly, Prabhat, perhaps like not to even call rehabilitation centers rehabilitations. We could call it like a dream world. I mean, why not? Seriously, like
yeah.
dream world, right? Like, why not?
Mm.
Exactly. Like you are trying to rehabilitate these innocent children who's living in the world that we created, and you are trying to rehabilitate them and try to put them into the past. No, that's not going to happen. They are helping us create a better future. So
And
I
the
beautiful conversation.
main reason for all these issues might could be the hormonal changes of puberty. I mean, they don't have control over that. So I mean, you can't
Exactly.
tell, because those hormonal changes, different bodies will react differently. So without
Exactly.
understanding that, to okay, someone who's very obedient and is okay, good child. Someone who is not obedient,
Yeah.
bad child. it can't happen. It's the same mindset. Yeah.
Exactly. And in that case, now a good point. I mean, I love the way this conversation is building up. It's more than what I expected. Thank you millions times. And about puberty and the hormonal changes. So sex education is so important, right? So it's nothing new. People are just like about anything else. If children are educated, they know what they're dealing with. That is the first thing. And when they go to the society with all that energy that is rising in their body, they are looking to self-soothe. So usually children are not wired to self-soothe. That's why the parents and caregivers are there. Children are not naturally wired to do self-soothing. That is what the society is there, or the people in their family environment is meant to do. That's what we call family. They are there to soothe and help, like bring this autonomy, this balance. So child is going through massive hormonal drama. It's like a soup of hormones, and they don't know what to do with this internal storm. So you have the social media and all the what do you call the other children and the social influences. So someone or something will come into their life as very attractive that will help them self-soothe. So usually that will be some kind of a drug or some stimuli like media, like something they see and hear, or music, stuff they hear, or a particular person like their peers coming in who's already now taken the chances and done the experiments. So it's all about self-soothing, as you very correctly said, and perhaps we need more proper, structured, scientifically like very well trained people delivering this sex education and
And
about
actually,
basics of psychology.
few years ago, the government had come up with a book to be introduced to all kids in grade 7 with sex education. But there was a huge outcry saying this is not necessary and this and that, and they had to abandon the whole project. I mean,
Yeah,
so it is very, very sad. I mean,
yeah,
and I went through a PDF of the book, and it's perfect. It's beautifully explained what is happening and why you get these
yeah.
urges. Nicely explained, but it never got a chance to come to the public because of so many people going against it.
Yeah, that is, I think it is the institutional problem that we are talking about, this taken for granted assumptions and beliefs that sex is bad, whereas sex is the all ultimate force that create a human being. So how come that is bad? So it is directly attached and deeply rooted in religious indoctrinations. So this is a fight between science and myth, if at all. Not even religion; it's like science and myth. So I think we are going slowly. We are evolving. Some changes take time, especially older generation who are deeply rooted in mythologies and myths and the misunderstandings. It's hard for them to let go of their wiring. So we got to have some compassion as change agents and have this constant dialogue. But it is inevitable. The change will happen. And we just want the change to happen in a smooth way. I think people like us are there to sort of smoothen this rough transition. I think that is what our role in the society, that's how exactly I perceive my role in the society. With that, Prabhat, let's move on to the last question. How have you personally transformed over the years? Again, I think you addressed it here and there, but let's put it into a more structured question and then get the answer. So, how have you personally transformed over the years as a parent and the leader of the family, if at all in our culture, man is the leader usually, to deal with these socio-economic political challenges affecting children and youth?
Yeah, actually, so I have 3 sons with a gap of 5 years. So from the first to the third, there's a 10-year difference. So, and I see the difference. When my eldest was say 5, and when my youngest was 5, it was a huge difference. And like, especially the thing was about the media, the social media, and actually in our household, we have not tried to forcefully restrict them from being exposed to the media, because we can't do that. Okay, at home we'll say, oh, no phones, no this, no that, but then at school, everywhere, then their curiosity will be more,
Yeah.
because they don't have this side. So we have not,
Pink
I mean, we have,
elephant in the
but
room.
not,
The pink elephant. Can you remember
yes,
NLP pink
exactly.
elephant? Don't think about a pink elephant. If you say
Exactly.
don't,
So
that is exactly the children what exactly children
what they're
want to
doing,
do.
exactly. Yes. And like my youngest is now 13 plus. So I see him being on social media and websites, but from what I see, he's very responsible on that, and he's into basketball, and he's watching so many tutorials on basketball and so many things. So now, when you have the freedom given to them in a proper way, they might not think of doing the whatever things which are bad. So that's a big difference which I have seen. And the second one which I have seen is again like the globalization, which what is being accepted, like as you said, the all this thing about the sexual identity and how it's changing. So things like that, and how new generations are thinking about employment, how they are thinking about a career. So all those things, I see a big difference. And above all, another difference which I see is from our side, from parental commitment side of it. Now, when my eldest wife was not working, so she was at home. But now for the third one, she's doing some part-time work, and the time that she has with the youngest is limited. Of course, my input was the same right throughout, but the parenting, our commitment, our time has also, those are changes which has happened. So how have I adapted? One thing would be the way how I have given them independence, like authority, and make their own decisions. So as we discussed earlier, when you have the first child, you also don't know nothing about parenting. So you also might be just replicating what you experienced when you were a child. But second child, third child, you get more experience and you get more exposure and so on. So what I have understood is, okay, from a young age, you have to give them at least make some decisions about their schoolwork. And I'll give an example. My youngest, who has a slight language-related learning disability, that is like letters and those things he's not good at, and Sinhala letters being so much like so all forms and sizes, he finds it very difficult. So we noticed it when he was about grade 4, 5. Then we put into some extra support. He was improving, but then we realized for a fact that if he were to continue, then at all levels, he's going to struggle to pass Sinhala and Buddhism, because you're writing Sinhala. So then we had to make a decision. Are we going to put him on under so much of pressure, do this, do this, do this, or just to, he was asking that whether he could change over to London exams. So then we decided, okay, so we'll take him out and put him into Cambridge curriculum, and we gave the responsibility to him. He was 12 plus or 13 to make the decision. He said, yes, I want to do this. So then we looked for some schools and we put him to a school, and then he had to sit for an exam before they put them in the class. He was old enough to be in Form 4, but because he was a bit behind, they suggested to put him into Form 3. I said, okay. So he was put into a grade where he was with younger kids. And immediately he came and said, I can't be in this class. There are little kids and they are bullying. And I mean, I'm the oldest, kind of a thing. Then he had a motivation himself to get into the whatever class he was supposed to be in. He said, and he has spoken to the teachers, and he has done all these things on his own, and found out, if I do well at this term test, I can go into Form 4 from next term. Then I said, excellent. So you better work hard. So it's your decision, work hard. And we get supported with all the textbooks and some additional support, everything we did. Then time came, and just before the next term started, So the teacher has said, okay, you come and we'll put you through a small test. If you're okay, we'll put you into Form 4. Then midway, he said, these textbooks are difficult. Some subject matter is difficult. He was giving some excuses. And I knew for a fact he's a bit lazy, right? All teenagers like that, no? So then I knew that the reason he's not willing to go through this is not because he can't do. He's not willing to put in the effort. Then again, I said, fine. If that is what you want, you remain Form 3 and you go the entire journey with the nangis and the younger kids and boys and girls and do this. Then again, he said, after for 3-4 days, both of us didn't talk about it. Then he came back to us and said, no, I want to do this. I want to somehow do this and get into Form 4. He had another motivation because all his basketball buddies are in Form 4. So now he had two motivations. So then I said, okay, now that's what you want to. Okay, we'll support you, do it. So now he got promoted to Form 4 and he has spent 1.5 terms in Form 4 and is thriving in education and everything. So the point I was trying to make is, from my first child to the third child, I have learned to let go. So what I say is, hands off, eyes open. But what happens in most parents is, hands off, eyes also closed. Then you don't know where they are going, right? So you have to keep your eyes open, but hands off. That is a big difference, a big change which I made in terms of my parenting. And another thing a big thing which I would like to share is, I started to realize the importance of a support system to be a parent. So, like, there might be only a handful of good books and whatever. We might not have any courses at all, but then very few. But here, I came across a beautiful initiative called Parent Thrive, a community initiative where we get together, form separate clubs. We meet once a month where an expert would come and give some expert comments. And we recently in March, we had the very first parenting conference kind of a thing in Sri Lanka. So the second way which I have changed is to open myself to a support system, because there are millions of parents who have done it, who have done the wrong thing and learned, and why not share? Why not learn from them? So those are, I would say, the two biggest changes I have made about being a parent to my kids over the last, because what I'm always saying is that when I was launching my book on teen independence, what I said is, for the last 12 years, I have had at least one teen in my house. And for the next 6 years, I will be having one. So altogether, like almost 20 years, I'll be having a teen in my house, at least one. So I have so much of experience which I would like to share. And I go to these forums willingly and share, because a mistake which I made should not be made by somebody else. So I can share what I did wrong and how they can not make the same mistake which I did. So that's how I have changed over the last 20 years as a parent.
Beautiful. And Prabath, this is more than perfect. You gave me more than I expected during this 1.5 hours. I'm just beyond any words can explain how grateful I am. Like, I am like, wow. Again, no coincidences, because when you are truly operating from your heart and you believe in something good and you just live with that intention, just things flow on your way and it creates something beautiful. All I can say is that I'm so proud of you. It's like I want to really emphasize it and keep doing it. I'm there. We are there anytime. If you want our input in one way or the other, please feel free to ask for our support in whatever the way. We are there, and let us build this quantum NLP experience more healing enlightening experience together. Let's walk this journey together. I send you so much of love and blessings, and thank you for connecting with us, giving your most precious thing, that is life. What you shared with us is life. I think this I'm going to share with everyone in the future. I want to promise myself I am going to operate from this awareness in all my interactions. If someone gives you even a smile, a nice gesture, reply to a message, a phone conversation, obviously food and drinks and money, that's yes, obvious, very big stuff. And if someone give their time and energy, what they're actually giving is life. So adding value to life is
Thank you very
the
much,
vision I
Janani, because as I said, now since I'm in the mindset set of support and sharing, this is a golden opportunity for me to share what I have here, so that at least few would benefit, so that there'll be a ripple effect. So it will go.
no,
It will
no,
never stop. So
never, never,
let's
exactly.
create the ripple.
I believe in it too. And of course, this once we edit the video, this will be on almost all our platforms, and we are going to continue this dialogue. Perhaps, as you very correctly said, maybe next time we can have like a international online conference. Why not? I can invite some experts from this end, and we can connect this world views from different parts, and more a scientific forum as well, if at all, because you're from that background, I'm from that background. We believe in scientific research and proper research, so which makes people more convincing, right? That knowledge also has to go to the society rather than our ideas and ideologies. I believe in it. Now that we created that idea, hopefully it will, let's manifest it, isn't
Yes.
it, Gamakashri? Would you like to conclude with your thoughts about that idea and taking it, facilitate Mind Designs International? Now you are the head. You are the head of the entity I created, which I'm so proud of you. Somehow you are still holding that name together, and it is going international. So maybe we can have more like a scientific conference, and online conference. I can bring more people from different parts of the world to talk about this topic.
Yes.
Gamshri?
So something that I was passionate about is okay. So when Dr. Prabath talked about this parent group and how it is a support structure, like in my mind, I was like, those are mentoring, right? Because you have people who have already done it, they have gone through that, they know okay, in 2 years you're going to face this emotion, this something like this is going to happen. And it's very important for somebody to have somebody available in their life who can tell, okay, this might happen and you can do this. This could happen, your child might behave like this, that is not end of your world. You can do this, you can respond this way. So I think that is a very important thing. At the same time, I also think the structured knowledge, like when Dr. Prabath is writing a book, that is structured knowledge, right? Knowledge made available. So even before you enter the whole situation, that material is available, you can go through that. So that is the coaching aspect of it. So the coaching aspect of it and the mentoring aspect of it is being available is important. And also we might have to be sensitive to different cultures, different expectations. Like I know Americans would encourage their children to leave homes at 18. We encourage our children to hang around even after, if there's enough space, okay, bring your wife home, or like bring your husband home, let's settle down, we have large enough house. So those are cultural differences. Still the issues we go through are quite common. Like we face situations that we don't know how to handle, we try to beat ourselves down, so we get into depression, we get into rage. So these are common things. So I'm sure common platform would show pros and cons of each and every culture as well. So that would be a beautiful discourse. We would be able to learn things from others as well. So yes, that is something I'm quite passionate about.
Wow. That was spot on. We are so in sync. I am delighted once again. Right. So let us now wrap up our conversation, this wonderful dialogue, social conversation about mental health, importance of mental health of children and youth, and rehabilitation, parenting. It's a social dialogue. Yeah. So thank you once again, Gamaka and Prabath. Much love
Thank
and
you.
blessings. Jai Shri.
Jai Shri, Jai Shri, Jai Shri.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhat.